going to have Commissioner Cassandra Stacks say our prayer.
Father, as we come before you tonight as a board in the town, God, I ask that you would give us the wisdom and the knowledge to do what we need to do to make the best decisions for our citizens. And God, whatever the outcome is, I ask that you would just continue to let us have unity and harmony in this town. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. That reminds me, they want us to put our mics real close to our mouths so they can hear in the back. Okay. Call this meeting to order. First on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the deletion of item A, presentation of proclamation 198, 2026, under presentations. Okay, we have a motion. All in favor? Okay, that motion carries. Presentations. First off, North Carolina, well, we dropped A, so North Carolina League of Municipalities AIM program. So it's, here we go. This is Mr. Richard Marvin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, my name is Richard Marvin. I'm with the League of Municipalities, and I'm here to make a presentation to the town tonight. And the involvement of several of your staff members in the accounting mentorship program that we established. The part of the American Rescue Plan, we got a grant that allowed us to go out into the communities and assist local governments with their best practices of accounting and and improving financial positions for the smaller towns in North Carolina, of which most of them are smaller towns. Very few of our towns are large, but and we've been in this program now for about 3 years, and this is the third group of we've worked with on this program. You know, it allows us to get in touch with the towns to talk specifically about the financial position, things that relate to the budget, audit, things like that. Also state laws that are required by North Carolina. And so we've been doing that for quite some time. I think we've been meeting with the staff for about three or 4 months. And we have a book that has about 12 different chapters, and we've been through that individually with the staff. And tonight, I want to congratulate the 2 members of the staff, Sharon Penny and Angie Thornton, that have participated in this from the beginning. And I wanted to give them a certificate of appreciation for the work that they've done in this program. First is to Sharon Penny. Congratulations. Thank you very much for your work. And Angie? There was a transition during that time, so we sort of started and stopped and then started back again. But they did a fantastic job, and you're lucky to have these 2 people on your staff, and they're doing a good job on putting your finances on a position that you'll be proud of. And in addition to that, I want to present to the mayor and the board a plaque in appreciation for being one of the first members of the AIM project. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Public Works Week, presentation of proclamation 200-2026. Public Works people come
Have
forward.
Public Works come up. Anybody from Public Works? Long range.
Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to accountability. Whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated effort of public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our city.
It's no page over here.
Now, whereas it's in the public interest of the citizens, civic leaders, and children of the county to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in our respective communities. Whereas in the year 2026 marks the 60th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Therefore, now be it resolved that I, Matt Rayner, do hereby designate the week of May 17th to 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week. Urge all citizens to join the representatives of the Public Works Association, and other agencies with activities.
Well, I was wanting to see the, I can't see but one side of it.
And ceremony designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make in protecting our national health, safety, and advancing the quality of life. Proclaim this 12th day of May, 2026. Thank you so much. Thank you. Next is the update on the fiscal year 26-27 budget. Dean Rado.
I'm going to do this from up here, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. So, those of you I haven't met yet, I'm going to be using, you can use this slide deck up here, but I want to walk you through, I think it's important, and the board felt it important, that we all provide you an update on exactly why we're doing what we're doing. And hopefully it'll add a little bit of transparency to this process and the criticality of the financial position of the town. So I'm going to go through, if you'll give me, hold your questions obviously till public comments on that piece. There'll be a time after that. We adjusted a working schedule so that we do have public comments, which we don't normally have. But hold your comments, if you would, please, to the end of that, and I'll walk you through and any questions I can answer after that during the public comments period. All right, so here's an agenda where what we're going to go through. Very simple, a couple slides here that sort of talks to how we got to where we are, and I think it'll add a lot of fidelity to what's going on. So, okay, so I've been in the position since November of last year, so a little over 5 months, I guess, if you will. Understood that there was obviously financial problems coming into this town, and that was made very clear during my interview process. They were very clear. When I say they, being the board, was very clear on what they needed me to do. That the town had been mismanaged financially for quite some time, and they needed somebody to come in and fix what's going on, and I think it's going to be very transparent on what we're dealing with here. So let me talk to you about a couple of definitions, so if I throw these out there, you understand exactly what they mean. So the town has really a couple of places for revenues, if you will. We have a general fund, and that's the definition exactly what that means. It's a general fund where we pay for things across the town. Police, for example, are paid for out of the general fund. Planning is paid for out of the general fund. When you start getting into restricted funds, those funds can be only funds that can be spent on those specific items. So think water, sewer. It can only be spent on water, sewer. Electricity can only be spent on electricity. And then when you get into the fire department, it crosses on both sides, meaning that we receive revenues from Harnett County, we receive monies from the fire district, VSV, through Johnson County, and then the town makes up the rest of that budget. So it's about half from other sources and half from the general fund, if you will. So you'll hear me talk about those when I talk about general funds. And then you're going to hear a term thrown out there quite a bit in a lot of our correspondence that talks about fund balance. The best way to think about fund balance is this is your savings account. This is your rainy day fund. Same thing, if you will. So obviously towns have operating expenses that they operate out of their restricted funds and their general funds, but each of those funds, both general and restricted funds, have a rainy day fund. And you need a rainy day fund for exactly that. For Mother Nature gets a vote, you know, structural and material failure gets a vote. There are times you reach into your general fund when the economy doesn't go as well and your revenues don't come in what you projected, and so you tap into your rainy day fund to make things go and continue to operate as a town, okay? I'm here to tell you, and you need to hear this very clearly, there are no funds in our rainy day accounts across the entire city. There are no, we don't have a daily operating expense problem. We have a rainy day fund problem. All of those funds have been expended, meaning that probably one of the scariest moments I've had here has been when we had supposedly the Ice-Mageddon that was coming. We didn't have the money to fix any material or structural failures based upon Mother Nature. There was no money, and we didn't know where we were going to get the money if power lines started going down. That means your wastewater treatment plant, when it starts breaking, we don't have the monies to fix it because there's no money in the rainy day fund. That means that if, you know, I wreck a car in the police department, I don't have the money other than insurance on it to cover it. That usually doesn't cover but a cost of it. We are not making enough money or did not bring in enough money, and I'll show you this, where we spent more money than we saved. And we haven't saved anything. And what we did save was spent over, not last year, not the year before. This has been going on for a long time. So this is a long-term fix in order to get our funds back up. There's also another dynamic that goes into this. The LGC, the Local Government Commission, requires towns below 9,999 to maintain a fund balance of 34%, which works out to about $2.5 million in your fund balance. We have a negative fund balance, meaning that we have spent, not only have we spent all of the monies in our rainy day funds, but we've spent even more monies that we have to pay back. So we have a $2.75 million deficit in our fund balance that we have to pay back before we ever start going positive. So this is not a fire department attack. This is an enterprise level crisis that we have to fix across all departments. And I'll walk you through how we got there. Okay, so I've told the council on several occasions that looking at this, and I will tell you that we spend a lot of time looking at the funds because it's a mess, and we're getting into it, and we pick up a rock and 3 or 4 more problems crawl out from underneath it. So let's talk about how we got to a $2.75 million negative fund balance and spent all of ours. So I'll show you here in a little bit. We have consistently ended the fiscal year in the red, meaning we have spent more money than we brought in for revenues. That's obviously not good. You want to bring in enough revenues to maintain and do your normal operating procedures, but also have a little bit extra money to put into your rainy day account because there's things that happen. One of the big issues, for example, is the fire department and needing a new truck. Well, you just don't go out and order a new truck. It takes 4 years. 4 years. So you have to be putting monies away to buy that truck, and they run about $1 million. That's a good round figure for them. There was monies being told to this council back here that monies were being put away, and they were shown that on paper, but when you go and look at the capital reserve account, on paper, it showed at one point in time there was $250,000 in it. We pulled the pool cash today, and sure enough, in the accounting system, there's still money in the accounting system for it, but there's no money in the bank. It was all spent. So, and that, whatever accounting was done, it's now down to $100,000. So somewhere in the last several years, It's almost like rearranging the deck chairs in the Titanic, to be honest with you. And so it's not there. It's in the accounting system, but there's no money in the bank in our reserves. Now, I don't want to spook you all. We have money in the bank to do our daily operations, if you will. But I will tell you, in July of last year, when Steve Harrell came in as the interim manager, they almost didn't make payroll in July. That's how bad it was. So it's getting better, okay? It's getting better, but we have to do tough things, and it's not to one department, it's across the entire town. All right. The second thing is when you start looking, dissecting this problem is we were not adjusting utility rates to keep up with inflation, cost of goods and services, and operating a system, all right? And so what that meant was, and anybody that's in business, if you buy a widget for 10 cents and you sell it for 8 cents, you're not going to be in business very long. And that's what we were doing with all of our utilities. We were subsidizing the utilities of our customers, meaning that we were not bringing enough revenue to pay for our utilities, but we were taking money out of our general fund, which we get, our general fund's made up of monies mostly from property tax and sales tax, and we were subsidizing the citizens of Benson's utilities. So the money was being spent, again, this is where your expenditures start exceeding your revenues. The next piece is, and I'll show you a diagram, and I just took a smattering of it. Again, it's a death by 1,000 cuts on projects that were over budget. And I think you'll see a lot of these projects that we did that we're all familiar with, that we went out and got grants for, or they went out and got donations for, and then when by the time the project was completed, it was severely over budget. And where do you pull that money from? From your general fund reserves, from your fund balance. The other piece is there's a lot of projects that go on, and we have to do projects, obviously, for infrastructure. You're constantly doing infrastructure upgrades. Everybody has water and sewer problems. Everybody has stormwater issues. Obviously, the costs for, we're in the process of a $60 million upgrade at our wastewater treatment facility. These projects, a lot of times when you're trying to push these projects through quickly, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, it's just that it wasn't ever followed through, the first thing that comes out are called soft costs. So these are design and engineering costs. So these are very expensive. The engineers and the architects are going to get their money first. They put together, obviously, the project budgets and stuff. These get submitted to state or federal agencies. They approve the budget, and you can start doing drawdowns off of those grants, is how this works. And I'm oversimplifying this, but it's a very complex process. We spent a lot of money on engineering, on soft costs for projects that we haven't executed. Meaning that we spent general fund monies that we were hoping to get, we're planning to get reimbursed for, and it never came through. And that's a very expensive thing to do. So you're putting a lot of money up front, but you're not completing the project. And so it's already spent. And then by the time some of these projects, when you pay for design and engineering costs, then by the time you get to the execution of the project, the budget's no good because, we all watched what happened in the western part of the state, and everything went through the roof as far as costs and services and goods. Last year, in the March time frame, the town manager at the time brought forth a concept to increase the costs of our COLA, cost of living adjustment for our employees. And cost of living adjustments obviously need to be, given to our folks to keep them, everybody, they do it for Social Security, they do it for a lot of places. So it's a good thing to do. But this one was a little extreme, very extreme. 4%, 8%, and 15% COLA adjustments were given to the entire town, and that increased folks' salaries. The impact to the budget was $635,000 a year. okay? That's forever. That's not something I can go back in and propose in the next budget, saying, hey, listen, we're going to pull back those cost of living adjustments. You just can't take people's pay back. It doesn't work like that. So that's a forever gift that's going to keep giving, on top of a budget that was already in a deficit. And the last piece, and we're taking a hard look at it. We've got folks that are working on it. I wanted to know as soon as I got in, what are all the contracts? And there's contracts for everything. Some of them are temporary contracts, but a lot of them are long-term contracts. And I'll use one as an example here in particular. So we buy a large portion of our water from Dunn, and we buy a small portion of our water from Johnson County. But on wastewater, we actually treat both Meadows and Four Oaks wastewater. So it comes to our plant. And it's a rate. It's a bulk rate based upon how much waste comes to our plant. And that contract was let years ago. And it was brought up 2 years ago to renew that contract. And it stopped. It got tabled for a discussion that was happening. It was never brought back up to this board for approval. And it just sat there until I started asking questions when I got here. And the so what to that is if we would have let that contract 2 years ago, we would have had an increase in our revenue by over $300,000. So these are just death by 1,000 cuts and poor administrative oversight, in my opinion. And we're only continue to dig and find out how did we get here. But this is a large portion of that piece. One thing that I didn't talk about here, and I went over it, and I didn't cover it, but I want to make sure it's very important. There was a point in time where the town, we have a lot of development, which is a good thing, very good thing. Obviously, as we're seeing, our town grow, and that brings in more property taxes, and obviously, hopefully, that allows us to bring in amenities that are very positive to the town. The town had a policy where they were taking infrastructure to the developers. You go to a lot of other towns, it's almost every other town, and that is paid for by the developers, not us. We were actually taking it to them at a cost and pulling monies out of our rainy day funds to bring in those utilities, and I'll show you some numbers here in a second that shows you exactly where those are. But I'll give you a perfect example. Just the electricity alone to one development was almost over $1 million. So that should have been paid for by the developers. Okay, so just to give you, this is just a highlight. So when I told you each budget, I haven't found yet a budget, and I'll go back further, but we've gone back a couple of years on budgets. What was the budget, and what were our expenditures, and how did we end the year? But red's bad, okay, when you see that. So the last 2 years, we were in the red on top of spending, that's general fund, but on top of spending monies out of our rainy day funds. So that should be tracked and managed. That's my responsibility to make sure that we spend less than what we're making. Okay, so we talked about the projects. This is just a snapshot. Take a look at it. I mean, some of you folks can note this a heck of a lot better than I do, but these are projects that we went out and either got grants for, loans for, or what have you, that after the grant was applied and after the loan was applied, this is what the town took out of their rainy day fund to make these projects be completed. And you can see these on here. These projects weren't last year. They weren't all the year before. This has been happening for quite some time. I bet you this goes back a decade. And it's not a bad thing. Sometimes there are projects that are very important, and it's a conscious decision, but it's a council approval to dip into our rainy day funds to complete a project. And then there's things that, for example, I'll tell you on the Lee Street demo. So when they got into that project, there was a cost that was associated with it, but they didn't realize the amount of asbestos abatement that was required for it. And so that's what made the cost overrun go on that. But if you take a look at there, you can see the You can see the deficit. You can start seeing about how did we spend all this money? Nobody went to Cancun and hung out and, trips are misspent. And I haven't found anything that was illegal. This is just a management issue, and we've got to get it under control. All right. So how do we fix this? All right, so the first thing is the simple one, common sense. We're going to spend less money than we bring in. I mean, that's just critical. And a lot of that gets into the budgeting process, and that's where we currently are right now. And a lot of that's done with, and of course, Sharon Penny is obviously somebody I've worked with for over 5 years. We walked into a similar situation with that in our last town. We were on the UAL list, and you all understand what the UAL list is, the Unit Assistance List. When you don't have a fund balance that's at a certain percentage or you do certain things, you get put on the state's bad boy list. It's another level of bureaucracy that's important, obviously. I think that we all saw Rocky Mount. They're on the UAL list and had, matter of fact, state auditor was involved with them. And what it does, it's a check and balance at the state level to make sure that the elected officials here are doing the right things. Part of that is bringing in a finance director with an accounting degree. That sort of helps with what we're doing. And then getting after and making sure that we're doing the right things. So rate studies. So we did a rate study on our electrical, and that was paid for by Electricities that did a rate study for us through a grant. There was also the UNC School of Government's rate study on water and sewer. They tell you what you should be. They look at your system and they say, these are the rates that you should be doing, and these are the increases that you should be doing on an annual basis to keep up with inflation and the costs associated with the age of your system. So that's very key. These are things that the LGC wants to see. They also put in there things that we can't do. I can't go out and borrow I can't go out and borrow any money without the LGC's approval, and it's about a 120-day process. I can't enter into contracts for the life of the contract that's more than $50,000. That's tough. If you all were here at the last meeting, we approved a backhoe for the public works and the wastewater treatment plant guys. We had to go back and modify that contract for that backhoe that we critically need, that we use daily, because the cost of renting it exceeded $50,000. We had to bring it underneath that. So it makes you do things that you wouldn't normally do. And then more importantly, it makes us give them a budget by the 15th of May. So it's a month ahead of time, and they scrutinize the budget to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing with our monies and say, okay, this is a good budget. Now you're cleared hot to approve it. So it's a check and balance that we must do. We want to get off of it, okay, because we want that freedom. It's not not a badge of honor. It's a bad thing that we need to rectify it. And I think it's going to take us 2 to 3 years to get off of it. The fund balance is so low, it's going to take us at least that long to get off of it. The adjusted utility rates. I will tell you that this council, this has been an eye-opening experience for them as much as it has been for all of you that's out there, because they made the best decisions they could possibly make with the information they were being presented. I will tell you that there was some not as transparency coming from the last administration on where monies are and what our current balances are, and it's unfortunate. But that's where we are. We can't go backward. We have to go forward. The first thing I told them when I got here was you've got to do the hard things and you've got to adjust rates. It's ugly. Where we should have been adjusting utility rates a certain small percentage each year, they hadn't adjusted utility rates, we think, 13 years. And I'm here to tell you that the council approved utility rate increases. This council back here approved utility rate increases on electricity, and when it got to the manager's office upstairs, they were not executed. And so this last utility rate increase that we had, we talked about ripping off the Band-Aid, because that's what Electricity said. You have to remember, there's 74 cities in Electricities, and 73 of them are making money. You can figure out which one's not. We had to do a substantial rate increase. Now, we are still lower than Duke, and we still are lower than South River, but it was a heinous utility rate increase. We didn't rip off the Band-Aid, we pulled organs out with it. It was ugly, but they passed it, and it was critical to that on getting us healthy. And I'm going to show you some numbers that are positive on what we're already seeing. Same thing goes along with utility rates as far as water and sewer. You've got to make money to maintain your system. You got to pay your bills, but you also have to put a little bit of money into that rainy day fund so that when things break. I mean, we've got pumps at wastewater treatment plant that if the motor goes out, it's a $60,000 replacement. These are not cheap items to treat water and distribute water and distribute electricity. It's expensive, and we've got to have monies in our savings accounts to do that. And that's where these rates are going to, well, no one wants to pay more money. None of us want to pay more money. I understand that piece, but this gets us healthy and allows us to maintain our systems. Project budgeting. So we've got to, and they've done a very good job. Steve Harrell came in here as the interim manager. I've continued on with that we are not expending, we don't have the money first off, but we're not expending monies on projects unless we can draw down those funds to cover those costs. We're not going to go back to that last slide I showed you where we had spent monies and we can't get those monies recouped. We are also going backwards, back to those federal and state agencies and seeing if we can't recoup some of those costs, saying, hey, we should have put in receipts and invoices for this. Can we possibly get monies back? It's a long shot, but we're going to try to go back and find some of the monies. No COLA increases. Now, all the folks back here, it's not just the fire department. I've got all the department heads in here as well. That's not a positive thing, because now granted, they just had a heinous COLA increase with that. But you're going to see around here, you're going to see, I think Clayton is doing a 3% COLA increase. And I think that there's other towns that are doing like a 2% COLA increase. My recommendation to the council is no COLA increase, and it will probably remain that way for probably a couple of years. Contract oversight. So we are finding lots of contracts that either are expired or need to be renegotiated, need to be canceled, if you will. We're digging into every single expense that we possibly have, from how many cell phones do we have out there, and how many do we must have versus not have. I mean, we're looking for nickels and dimes, trying to figure out how we can save monies across the board and still maintain the services that we provide. So you're going to see in this budget that the budget proposals that I'm doing do not affect the operational capabilities of this organization. Fire, police, public works, electricity, you're going to see that the biggest cuts are in personnel, and they are mostly administrative positions or positions that aren't currently staffed by somebody. There is one position, there was two, but there's one position that there was a face associated with a space, and I'm consolidating efforts because I'm instituting a 20% reduction in personnel, paid full-time folks across this town. It's a substantial cost savings that we must do in order to move this town forward. All right, so let's talk about, let me show you a picture, the good news story. If there's always got to be some good news. We got to hunt for the good stuff here. So because of the great work by this council in August, when they amended the budget, they brought in Steve Harrell, who is a break in time of glass until they can hire a new manager, who put in place processes, approved a budget, got the audits. There was 2 audits that needed to be cleaned up, and obviously instituted a hiring freeze in a lot of areas. The good news piece is look at the bottom number down there. So far this year, what the town has done, and before a lot of rate increases were put in, there were some small ones put in during that amended budget. We're going to end the year for the first time that I can find documentation on in quite some time in the black. So that's a good news. So don't get excited that there's almost $1 million there, because there's all kinds of neat things that we're finding that are going to dip into that piece. You know, from pick Mother Nature gets a vote, Murphy gets a vote on things that will break. We're not to the end of the fiscal year, but we feel pretty confident that we're going to end the year in a positive note. All right, and the hope is that we can take a little bit of that money, because remember, we receive most of our revenue in the February and November timeframes. And so you have to have money in the bank to live until November, until you get your next property tax adjustments. Sales tax runs quarterly, and we're always a quarter behind on it, on that piece. So you've got to have money in the bank in order to continue to operate. And we spend about $600,000 a month operating this town, just to give you an idea of what it costs. That's a good news story. All right, personnel. This is where it's always ugly, because obviously there's people's lives. There's you know, it's never popular, if you will, on that piece. But I want to reiterate again, is that the proposed cuts that we made, I am taking police officers off the street, but we're not decreasing, and for the most of the folks that are in here on reference to the fire department, we are not taking firemen off of fire trucks. These are administrative cuts across the board, and it's not just the fire department, it's across the board. So when I presented this, now remember, no reductions have been made to any of the positions in this town right now. This is my proposal to the town council that has to vote on the budget to be approved in the next coming weeks. So this was my way, what I was trying to get after is at least $1 million in savings via, versus personnel cuts. We have 59 employees, full-time employees right now, obviously part-time, and you have volunteers that we pay. These are full-time positions that, and I think if anybody's in business or any organization, that your most expensive costs are your personnel costs, because not only you're paying their salaries, but you're paying all the benefits. And on June 30th, if I'm paying what we're paying for personnel costs with no COLA, personnel costs would include benefits and salaries. When we transition to July 1, that's the fiscal year changeover, immediately the personnel costs that we currently have is going to go up $178,000, because that's what it costs for those benefits the next fiscal year. State plans, health plans, dental, vision, you pick it. It's going to cost the town an additional $178,000. So you can see here, so we've targeted quite a few places, all right? And I will tell you that this was a very back and forth conversation with each of the departments. They don't like it. None of the departments liked it. But they understand that this is an enterprise level approach. And we have to figure out, how do we find costs? How do we cut costs in order to move forward as a town? Because I told you the hole we're in, and we've got to figure out how to do it, and personnel costs is going. I think that this is an 18 to 24 month delay in these positions. If we, in fact, and we'll reevaluate them. Some of these positions, if we do it for 18 to 24 months, we're going to have a hard discussion going, okay, you've been doing this for 18 to 24 months. What's the impact of your organization? Do you really need that? Doesn't mean we're automatically going to go back and fund them, but we're going to have those hard discussions with those department heads, and I value their input and their judgment. I'm not a fireman. I'm not a police officer, and so those are my experts, and this is how we have to get after this piece. It's expensive. I'm very, very concerned. You'll see that there's no cuts to electricity. I'm very concerned with electricity because I'm already short folks down there, and I'm having to compete with the Dukes and the South Rivers of the world, and our salaries just aren't where they need to be to get the folks that we need. Now, there's been a lot of discussion, let's just get rid of the electric department. Every town that has electricity, that's part of electricities, will tell you that if it's managed properly, it's a moneymaker. It's the only restricted fund that we have that we can take out a percentage of the revenues from electricity and put them back into the general fund. I can't cross I can't cross the streams with the rest of them. I can't take out water and sewer and put it in the general fund. That's illegal. But electricity, the way in which it's been set up for quite some time, if it's managed properly, I will tell you that if you talk to a lot of other cities that are electric cities, they'll tell you that this is good. That means that they can put more money in the general fund, which means we don't raise taxes or we can reduce rates. That's where we want to get to. We don't want to pay these costs forever. We want to pass on those savings if it's managed properly to our citizens. So let's talk about the fire department. So the fire department, there was a position, if you look up there, there's an asterisk next to the 13. We've heard you very loud and clear. And we have gone back and sat down as late as Friday with the fire chief and elected officials and went line by line on their budget. And the proposed budget that was presented to us that I pushed back on, we in fact have put back in place, with the exception of 3 firefighters, and I'll talk about that here in a second, that were brand new that are not filled right now. We put back in place the position that I recommend to be deleted, and we increased their budget. Matter of fact, we're paying off a brush truck that, for some ungodly reason, they took a 40-year loan on a brush truck, and we're paying heinous amounts of interest on it, and we're going to pay off that brush truck in this next budget cycle. Matter of fact, we increased the budget that Alan presented to us by $31,000. So that's a good news piece. Now I will tell you about the 3 firefighters. So we need those 3 firefighters. We need 3 full-time firefighters per shift. I am their biggest cheerleader on this. The cost to those 3 firefighters it would be about $300,000 that we just don't have. Now I've gone back to the county commission, had a meeting again today with the county commission. You know, the citizens of Benson pay a lot of money, and they get double taxed. So they pay taxes for being a Benson resident, and you also pay county taxes on that piece. We also have a very large facility that's about to go in called Vulcan, and it's going to generate revenues. Now the town, along with the county, awarded an economic development incentive grant, which is what you do to bring in large companies. And so we are going to get 35% of their property taxes, really years 1 through 6. And that's all based upon the build-out. Now, this is a build-out. They will not be fully operational until 2030. But when they are fully operational, and in 15 years, when all those incentive grants has left, it will double our current budget in property taxes. That's a very, that wasn't a home run. The town won the World Series on that. That will be such an economic boost to this town that I don't think people have seen in their lifetime. We expect to, in the next 2 years, to start seeing revenues, an additional revenues of about $400,000, and then that ramps up over time, and that will help it. We can't just go spending that, going, hey, we won the lottery. You've got to put that money back into the fund balance. We got to get our piggy bank built back up, so it's security for the town. Anyway, I've gone to the county commissioners and I've said, listen, so we need help. I need those 3 firefighters. I need those 3 firefighters for a lot of reasons. The existing full-time firefighters are tired. They're working their buns off right now, and they need 3 people per shift. The second thing is, and I got to give, I don't know if EG's in here or not, but no one's built a facility like this outside of China. We're not only building this plane in flight, we're like finding materials for it. I mean, nobody knows what a 1.1 million square foot facility, what the fire concerns are on how do we, with the furnaces that they're going to have, the amount of power they're going to be pulling, and what that means from a fire prevention and firefighting standpoint. So that's the argument we've made. We've put together a white paper. We've asked them for an additional $300,000, not a loan, but a grant. hey, county, we need to see some love down here and to fund those 3 firefighters. That's where we've gone and when we're asking for help. They need them. We're going to do everything we can to get them, and that'll get us 3 full-time firefighters on each shift. Okay, a couple of things. The finance department, why are you reducing people in the finance department when your finances are in such bad shape? I'm combining the HR department and the finance department. Towns this size, I haven't seen a HR department of this size for a town this small. So we just got to do things smarter. So we got to look internally at how we're doing things, and we're combining those 2 departments, and you're going to see a cross-leveling of duties, and we're going to try to do more with less. Okay, so we've talked, and I'm almost finished here. I apologize for going lengthy. We've talked about cutting internally, and they're not positive. No one likes it. No one wants to see monies cut in their budgets. You know, the citizens are concerned that services and operational capabilities are going to be impacted. So how do you fix it if you can't fix it internally? We can raise taxes. So 1 cent raises taxes or provides revenue to the equivalent of about $67,000. So that $1.1 million in savings for freezing those positions and not filling those positions, you can see the number up there. I think it's on there, 17 cents. That probably is not something that the citizens of Benson want to see, that we increase, you know, for every $100 of valuation, we add another 17 cents onto their tax bill. Just for the firefighters, we'd have to raise taxes 4 cents. So we're trying to do this internally. We're trying to get more fiscally responsible and put management and processes in place, leverage technology, tighten our belts in order to fix this without putting that burden that you all shouldn't have to be responsible because we didn't do our job up here. All right, so that's how we're trying to fix it right now. But those are your other options. Or, you know, if I'm told that we've got to fund, you know, departments at a higher level, I have to go to other departments and pull monies from. So my fire department's down 7 police officers right now. That's not good because people want to be safe. So we've got to figure out how do we do this internally and arrive at what we're trying to correct. All right, I will just because the lawyer has us doing this, we have to follow the piece. But any questions that you have, I'll answer them during the public comment portion. And please, obviously, when you come up here, give us your name, where you live, so we can get that for the record, and then we'll answer your questions. All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
May I speak?
Sure.
Based on the information that has been presented tonight, and I'm strictly talking about the fire department, I'm requesting that this board directs our town manager to restore the position of assistant fire chief and offer that job back to Mr. Anthony Bird, and also restore the compensation along with any benefits that were given with that position. I personally feel like it's only right because he gave so many years of service to this town.
Kind of steal my
So-
thunder, aren't you? Kind of steal my thunder.
So this is basically my stance on this. I mean, I heard I know about our budget. He presented information about the fire department, and if we're not eliminating any positions, I think this position of assistant fire chief needs to be restored back to Anthony Bird. And that is my motion.
So let me just clarify. So the position funding for that position has not been eliminated for this year's budget. And we have restored my proposal back. You all will get a chance to vote on this. So my proposal for the next fiscal year budget will include the funding for that part-time position.
Okay.
As far as though as back pay and stuff, that's a legal question that we didn't terminate the individual, and that one gets a little bit sticky, so.
So, do we vote on it? You want to vote on it now?
I think so.
How about let me do my thing? Well, okay.
They said they can't hear you, Mike.
Motion on the floor.
What was the motion again?
The motion is, based on the information that was given tonight, we heard the information about the budget along with the fire department and about there's no elimination. My motion is to restore that position, which apparently it has been, but offer it back to Mr. Anthony Byrd, along with the benefits and the compensation. And that is my motion.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
Jump in and say no now, or? Now, the way I understood you made your motion, yeah, I think that's legal. If you're talking about retroactive pay while they work, okay, yeah, no.
Not retroactive.
That's
pay
more
at all.
complicated, but.
Not retroactive.
The microphones, us back here cannot hear you.
Not retroact the pay, that, because that basically means any salary that he had, you know, prorated to what the current is, just to restore,
Right.
to offer that position back to Mr. Byrd, and whatever compensation he was getting and benefits be the same.
Okay, so to answer your question, Commissioner McClam, yes, it's legal, and from what I understood, the manager said it's consistent with your current budget anyway, and the proposed 26, 27 budget, so yes, it's legal.
Okay. So that is my motion.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Great.
I thought we were already there.
Now,
In Jesus.
I thought we were already there.
all right. Now, guys, I want to make a statement before we start with the public comment. Tonight, first of all, I want to welcome everyone here. Thanks for coming. Y'all have a voice and y'all matter. And that voice has been heard loud and clear over the last several days or weeks by the board. Quite frankly, mistakes were made in this process. Things could and should have been handled better. Hindsight is always clear, but that does not change our responsibility. As mayor, I accept responsibility for the actions of the town, and I want to personally apologize for the way this situation has unfolded and for the hurt and frustration it has caused. At this point, all we can do is work to make things right and move forward together. Let me say this clearly. Neither this board nor this town has ever intended to weaken our fire department or police department. We fully understand the value of the men and women that serve this community every day. They put themselves out there on the line for Benson, and we respect and appreciate the service they do. While the board and staff have been searching under every rock for ways to save money and stabilize our finances, we should have taken a slower and more thoughtful approach regarding the fire department. Therefore, while I only vote in the event of a tie, I'm recommending that the fire department budget return to the previous budget submitted by Chief Johnson. Actually, I talked to him earlier, he chose the 1.44 budget that we did Friday. And so, let's see, where I lost my place. Which included roughly a $30,000 difference in increases in benefits, turnout gear, equipment certification and calibration, and training costs. Either option is, so he chose the 1.44. But we needed to have decided that because we have to turn it in tomorrow to the LGC. Regarding 3 requested positions, I want everyone to know that the town manager has been and is actively working to identify the funding sources. And it's not a no, but it's just not right now. But it might not be too long. We are hopeful that by this fall, the town will begin turning a major financial corner. And as Chief Johnson reminded me, with the opportunities and demands that will come with projects like Vulcan, Benson will continue preparing itself for the future while also meeting today's needs as well. I also want to personally address Assistant Chief Anthony Byrd. Anthony, I regret that I did not communicate with you personally sooner. Looking back, I wish I had pushed harder for better communication and a different process. I understand that you're hurt and feel disrespected, and I'm truly sorry for that. You're respected by this community, and I sincerely hope there's a path forward. I'm asking for forgiveness and hope in time healing can occur. Throughout the entire process, I've tried very hard not to take sides other than to be on the side of Benson. I have listened, I've tried to reason, and sometimes I've even pleaded for compromise. Sometimes leadership means accepting that you cannot fully satisfy everyone, but you still keep trying to move the community forward. Tonight, I'll do my best to answer any questions and listen respectfully to concerns and suggestions. In return, I ask that everyone keep this meeting respectful and orderly. The rules are simple. Please limit comments to 3 minutes so that everyone has an opportunity to speak. No profanity, no personal attacks, no comments or disruptions from the audience while others are speaking. If multiple people wish to make the same point, I encourage selecting a spokesperson if possible. I will enforce these rules fairly and consistently. If necessary, I will use the gavel. The law enforcement is present if someone refuses to comply. But my sincere hope is that tonight we can conduct ourselves in a way that reflects what we are in Benson, the best of Benson. We may disagree at times, but we're still neighbors, friends, and one community. Now, at this time, we will begin public comment. And remember to state your name and your address. Okay, who wants to be first?
My name is Belinda Barefoot, and I live at 5610 Red Hill Church Road, Coates, North Carolina. I'm the same, I've not changed. I have several questions, and maybe you can answer them for me. I'm not trying to be difficult, I just don't quite understand. The Harnett, because my farm is in Harnett County. So the Harnett County money that is given a percentage of that to the fire department. Was that not what was said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
No. The 178,000 is not a percentage, it's given to the fire.
Okay, a straight out amount.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's
That amount.
It's budgeted this year for that.
Okay, but that amount in past years, what has happened to it if it's not gone to the fire department? If it's been in the general account, is it given to other people and things in the town?
I'm shaking my head, no, it's not supposed to, because, you know, I told you there's a lot of, all the funds were mismanaged.
We needed a microphone system.
Yes, I agree. Can't afford them. So that's a restricted fund, okay? And so let me just throw a couple numbers at you here. So the monies, the cost for the budget that we get from both Harnett County and we get from Johnson County from our fire district only make up about half of the fire department's budget.
And I understand that.
Right, and so those monies are spent on the fire department, and then the town then puts in the other half to it. And I feel confident that those I can't tell you that the dollar that came in and it went into account that went straight to the fire department. We pay the bills in the fire department, but I will tell you that there's not enough money coming in from restricted funds to cover the cost of the fire department. And I feel very confident telling you that the rest of the monies came out of the general fund. So we're not taking the so last year, for the next fiscal year's budget, we're looking at $176,210. That makes, when we start talking about the $1.4 million budget for the fire department, you know, you're going to get money from the county, you're going to get from our county, you're going to get money from Harnett County, and then we're going to put money in to make up that $1.4 million.
And that money is, from Harnett County, is used for the town of Benson's fire district, where their fire district runs into Harnett County?
So they provide a service out there, and we get a compensation for that, but
Okay.
it pays for our fire department,
Okay.
a portion
That
of our
is-
fire department.
I only have 2 questions, and
Sure.
we might have used up my 3 minutes, but my second question is, if we are trying to save money, and I guess that's what we're all trying, because I'll tell you, that's why I asked that question about Harnett County, because my taxes have already almost doubled. My property taxes have gone through the roof this year in Harnett County. If we're trying to save money and not waste, why are we paying travel revenues for you all to travel from Elizabethtown to Benson and given a stipend for that? Is that my 3 minutes?
No, you go ahead, keep answering your question, you're good.
Why are we doing that if we're trying to save save the funds. I mean, to me, you know, when I tell my crowd, we're through, we're checking out, we got to cut back. Spending money on gas is one of the things that we have to cut back on, and it's $4 a gallon, so that leads into quite a lot of money. Have we never had anything that said our town manager needed to live within a certain radius of this town?
In the past.
In the past, we have we not?
We have.
I thought we had.
Even in the past, with them living here, they still gotta stop it.
They did?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
I'll be very transparent. So I'm making $10,000 less more than the last town manager was, and I also don't take your health benefits. So I'm a disabled veteran, and I have the VA and I have TRICARE that takes that. So I'm not being smart here. It's a cost savings, obviously, compared to the last town manager
So are we
substantially.
the same with Sharon?
So Sharon we're paying a stipend for her. There's 3 folks in town that get a travel stipend, and that was part of the contract negotiations.
And who are
So,
who's the other one?
Kayla Godwin,
And she lives 3 miles out of Benson.
right.
I rest my case.
Susan Wallace, 6710 CNC Highway 50 North Benson. I wasn't going to speak, but I had a couple questions as I was taking notes. To me, you explained the budget clearly. We can see that the previous town manager and assistant town manager had hands that were not doing the right thing. You can save $90,000 a year by letting the assistant town manager go. That is 2 police officers if I'm along the lines of what the salary is. If you're a wonderful town manager, we have an excellent finance person. Angela has backed this town up for several years with or without a degree. Now you've also asked for Scott Tart to step up and be a HR/finance person. That $90,000 will minus the travel, and it will also probably put 2 police officers, because when we're in town, if I need them, I can call Greg Percy and I can get one, because they love the town that they work in. We need more police officers because of all the development that we have. You've already said our fire department will be here. When you're looking at personnel, there's a few more places that you could look at, and I just named one. It's not a personal attack, it's common sense. Thank you.
Ann Parker, 606 East Harnett Street. Welcome to the construction zone. 2 questions, that's all I got. Most of you have been sitting on this board for quite a while. We didn't just go into $800,000 debt. Will, I know you questioned years ago. Nobody ever got back. You wouldn't let you see the books. Were y'all not doing due diligence to say, hey, we need to see the books? Benson don't have a 4,800 residents, and that third of them are here tonight. He's talking about raising, possible raising taxes. How many of you have a $100,000 job? None. This lady right here got hired. She's from your part of the world. That's extra money. You add $110,000 to $800,000. We're looking at $1 million. Benson cannot afford $1 million. Some of y'all live in those houses that look like $1 million. I don't. I am on a budget. Most people in this building have to be on a budget. If my house was run the way y'all have run this town for the last, I'm gonna give you 5 or 6 years, no, it would be dead. It's dead already when you come through on Sunday. Nothing's open. Come on, work with me here. Let's do something. I do agree, and I thank you very much for your service to the military. See those men back there in red? I live 3.5 blocks away from them. I know when they go out. I know what they do. I'm going to support them. I don't care whether y'all like it, you don't. Cut salaries. You're right. We didn't need a 15% COLA on anybody. Benson is a small town. Why do we need to pay people $100-something thousand? No reflection on you personally, but you need to go back home.
Good evening. My name is Laverne Richardson. I live at 128 Hunterwood in Benson. And I'm an advocate for people whose voices who do not get to be heard. First of all, I like to say the commissioners need to take their power back that was taken away from them years back. Some of the older ones remember when the town manager worked at Johnson Tech and some decisions and things need to be signed and stuff and gave temporary power. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yes, y'all do. Anyway, so that's how the town manager got the power. But y'all need to take back your power. Okay, that's number one. Town manager, I beg the difference on the salaries. I got a copy of the salaries and did a deep dive myself into the salaries. Now you say you make less than the town manager that left the Kim. Kim left making $110,000. You make $140,000. That's $30,000 difference.
Kim made $150,000.
Well, I got inaccurate numbers because
I can provide you with the latest. Yes, ma'am.
Because 2026 it's okay. You make $140,000. Sharon makes 100, which is the finance director, 110,000. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If we broke, why are we still hiring people? Like, especially for Elizabeth City. You trying to Elizabeth City, so it's no qualified people around here. The latest position, bringing in, making $110,000 too. All of y'all is making in the hundreds. Now, there's people back here that's in key positions. They're not even been here for years. And I'll give you a good example, the fire chief. He just barely makes 98, 100. He been here for about 15 to 20 years. And then we're going to bring in a finance director making 110 and a town manager 140. And then you bringing in another person making 110,000. And I agree with the lady before. You are the commissioners. Now, y'all not going to tell me don't nobody know how to read a balance sheet and a P&L. Now, see, they taking up my minutes. Hold up, hold the applause, let me finish. Now, just by coincidence, Kayla's not here tonight. But you're not going to tell me the assistant town manager did not know what the town manager, which was Kim, was doing. And since we're talking about Kim, you're talking about finding money, Mr. Parker, find the contract where we paid for Kim to go to school. Now, and all of a sudden, the contract can't be found. So therefore, she do not have to pay back what cannot be found. Okay, let me hear up. Now, let's address some of these stipends. I like to say, you all chose the job here in Benson. When we go to work, do y'all get a stipend? Okay. Okay. And then sometimes y'all carpool. And then, okay, wait a minute. Okay, let me just, okay, see, that, some of the clapping is taking up some of my minutes. Okay, just give me finish. Well, okay, so, okay, let me finish this, say this right here. The stipends, talking about car stipends, telephone stipends, working from home. Plenty of times I have made it my business to call up here on Fridays. It's a ghost house with the management. Now, we got to do better. And the commissioner, y'all got to be more accountable. I think Mr. Chandler, now he said a couple of meetings before, he took accountability. Now, it took all these people coming out here last meeting and the news people coming for now everybody apologetic and changing things around. We, the citizens of Benson, deserve better. Now, I got plenty more I got to say, if I got to say it to Channel 5 or Channel 11, but it will be heard. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Pamela Sneed, and I live at 111 JJ Drive. I come on tonight with the utility department. Customer service is nasty, just straight up nasty. And the first person that's nasty is Miss Crystal. She is nasty. You cannot work in customer service and be nasty. If you nasty before you get out of your house in the morning, you need to stay home. And I had a little incident on Friday that the water had got cut off. Not at my house, because I got county. But anyway, the water got cut off, paid some of it, but we was trying to see if we could get it on because it was a leak. And her statement was, this is Mother's Day weekend, and I'm not trying to come out. If you on call, you can come out. But then I left a message Friday because I called back up. They wanted to talk to a manager. Nope, like she said, they were ghosts on Friday. Asked for a return call. Ain't heard from not now manager. But I got a phone call today from Miss Crystal that was the sweetest thing that you could ever, just as fake can be. Because this is not my first rodeo with her. I have made several complaints about her. If they get the attitude and get like Angie with the customer service, because I worked with Angie and Dunn, so I know she's a sweetheart. So if they got the attitude that she has, that customer service will be on point all day long. And I'm just saying that because I call that my little white sister, because she is. It just is what it is. When I come in somewhere, because I work for customer service every day, I work for DSS, I get cussed out every day. But when I get cussed out, I can't show them the same side they show me. I still got to treat them nice. So that's the only thing that we ask for is respect when we come in the water department. You cannot see color when people come in. Somebody come in that's white, just forgive me for what I'm saying. I mean, it just is what it is. Come in white, they think they got money, Crystal sweet. If she think they came from the trailer park, she nasty. If it's a Hispanic, she nasty. And it don't make no sense.
Start to get personal. Yes.
No, I'm just saying it got personal to me when you told me that you didn't it was Mother's Day weekend and you on call and you ain't coming. That was personal. But it personal when I didn't get a phone call back either. There's 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. So that's why I'm saying that customer service need to be better in the utility department. I worked for the city of Dunn. We got cussed out, about ready to get shoot up, but we didn't act like that. But I got county water, so they sweet people.
Good evening. Teresa Sloan, 2202 NC 50 South Benson. Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing public comment tonight. And City Manager, I thank you for your service. And I have just one question, it's a yes or no. When you are dealing with dollars and cents in any business, whether it's your home business, town, county, state, or national, things can get real nasty real quick, especially when you start attacking the home people that keep us safe, our police and our firefighters. So I've been asked tonight, and very willingly, I wanted to ask one question for the record later, if necessary. And again, Mr. City Manager, I apologize, I don't know your name. Thank you for your service to the country. But since your employment with the town of Benson, have you said any derogatory remarks about any Benson Town Commissioner or any Benson Town leader? And be very careful in answering the question. It's a yes or no. Have you said any derogatory comments about our leadership in Benson, period, or our commissioners that sit on the board, or our county commissioners? Yes or no? For the record. It doesn't need to be discussed. It's a yes or no question.
This is public comments.
It's-
This isn't an insurrection.
Yeah, we can't,
You can't answer that question?
not in public comment.
Okay, so let the record show, and I'm sure it will, that the manager can't answer a question whether he said derogatory comments about the board or our leaders in this small town of Benson. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
I'm Glenn McClam, and I live at 440 Morgan Road. I know most of y'all. Raised up right here in Benson with you, most of them do. Maxine and all of you. And I just come tonight. I come on behalf of the police department, the fire department, Anthony Bird and Atlin. And I knew if y'all were the kind of people that I was raised up with, that you won't want to do nothing wrong. Because I know most of you, and I know you ain't, in your heart, you don't do nothing wrong. But my questions has been answered since you ain't going to get rid of Anthony and Atlin. That was my main things. I have Parkinson's disease, so I know I don't talk good. But you can't hire yourself out of debt. When you get in debt, I've got right much rental property, got 3 houses in Benson. When you get down and you get in debt, you can't hire yourself out of debt. If they did, the federal government would be hiring everybody in the world. But you can't do that. You can't hire yourself out of debt. Hiring more people, hiring her or him, and it don't make no difference who it is. It's not going to get you out of debt. You're going to have to start tightening the belt like he said. You have to tighten the belt, but you ain't got to fire people. You ain't got to get rid of them. You can add a little, way you get out of debt, you add a little bit to the water bill. You add a little bit to the light bill. You add a little bit to, and then if you're going to cut salaries, you cut everybody's 2% or 3%, whatever you want to cut. You cut everybody's 1 or 2%. You don't put it all on just a few people. And that's all I got to say.
Anybody else?
Good evening. Jackson Wood, 206 North McLam Street. Hearing these people tonight and tuning into the YouTube video that was posted of the previous meeting, I had no recollection of any of this that was going on. And I mostly just have 2 questions. There has been a very big confusion between the people sitting behind me and the people I've spoken to outside of this room. Is anyone sitting in front of me talking about getting rid of the first responder program for the Benson Fire Department?
No.
Because somehow, some way, that's become a topic of conversation.
There was some miswording in that, but no, that is not going to happen. There's the first responder program is as important, probably in Benson, as the fire department itself.
Okay. Thank you, Will. And I did want to say that I do appreciate, Mr. Rideout, what you said before. I mean, I don't understand most of the politics, even local, but explaining what you did explain. And I just hope going forward, most of the people in this room can be more concise and open to conversation without the doors being closed or comments being made behind people's backs or after the fact. And that's all I had to say. I thank you for your time.
Anybody else? Okay, there we go.
My name's Mitchell Lee. I stay at 1821 NC 242, Benson. I don't live in town. I don't come to these meetings. I didn't know nothing about it until y'all had a meeting the other night. I just have one thing to say. I don't get a chance to see all you firemen, but I do want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what y'all do. My mom's 87 years old. Y'all the first ones that are by on the scene. Anthony Burr is outstanding. Alan, thank you. All you families that are with the fire department, I want to thank every one of you from the bottom of my heart. I know y'all put up with a lot and have to go out in the middle of the night, and I just want to thank you for what y'all do. God bless y'all. And I want to say one more thing. Y'all keep praying, because there's a God in heaven.
Yes, sir.
My name is Darla Ham. I live at 703 West Main Street, right where 50 and 27 converge. I see thousands of cars and trucks coming down Main Street every single day. I'm the transplant. I grew up in the Midwest, but I've been in North Carolina longer than I was ever in Indiana. And this little town has adopted me. Most recently, I was sick, and I had to call the EMS, and Alan showed up at 9 o'clock at night to make sure I got in the EMS vehicle and was on my way to Smithfield. As a woman that's alone, you have no idea what that means. A couple of years ago, I'm a musician. A few years ago, I was playing for a show and done. A couple weeks earlier that I was God's idea of a joke, because everything in the world has happened to my house since I bought it. And he said that was a terrible thing to say. I said, no, I mean it in the most positive way. I am proof that God has a sense of humor. Well, I came home on Saturday night from playing for a show and done. It was about midnight. I laid out my music for the next day, my clothes and my makeup for the next day, was making my coffee for the next day, and all of a sudden I smelled and heard sparks. I went running to the hallway, and I could see flames coming between the door jamb and the door. I threw the door open. That's where the hot water heater is. I called 911. They said, ma'am, we need you to go stand out on your front porch until the firemen come. This is after midnight. So I'm in my full-length gown. I still had my hose and heels on. Just make that sure. And who is my volunteer fireman? My plumber. He climbs out of the fire truck. He walks across my front yard, and he said, you remember what you told me that a few weeks ago? I said, I remember. He said, you know, you're right. That's only 2 instances when as a single woman, I hate to say elderly, but I am older. It's wonderful to have the back of the fire department and the police department too. Thank you.
That it? Anybody else? All right, one more chance. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Public comment. Department reports. Anybody want to have any questions about the department reports? We'll move on then to consider approval of resolution 281, 2026, acceptance of the 2023 Appropriations Act directed project claims. Jay.
Good evening. This resolution is to, I want to take $418,576 from our 2023 134 funding and apply it to the STAG grant project we have to replace the water lines in Southwest Railroad Parish and Elm Street. It's just to make up a funding difference to make sure we have enough money to cover the project to see it to completion. And the second page is a reference, I think, we included that, second page, where we are on our 134 funding right now. So if you have any questions, you'll see we have almost $2.4 million left in the general fund right now on that. So I'm just making up, I'm putting more money into, this is going to coincide with the EPA STAG grant we have of $959,000, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's coming out $16 million, not town funds.
Yeah, this is restricted.
Yes.
When you pull it out of one and put it over, I mean, that's just, when we take it out of one, is it gonna hurt anywhere else that we're taking it from, Jay, or is that money put there for just that?
It's just put there for that.
Okay.
At the end of the second sheet, as I stated earlier, we still have $2,392,000 that we do not have obligated toward any projects right now. That's the reason why I leave that there, just for incidences like this. And like I said, this will coincide with the EPA grant we have of $959,000.
Yeah, we've got to do it anyway, so.
Well, we got to do it,
absolutely.
and it's a buffer to help the town and make sure we don't have a shortfall at the end of the project.
Yeah, good.
Motion.
Make a motion, we approve.
Okay, motion on the floor. Any more discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries.
Thank you.
Consider approval of purchase orders over 30,000, Lee Electric construction chair.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a purchase order that we need to get approved. It is to relocate an electrical pole and the associated lines that are located on the northeast side of Highway 50, of the Highway 50 bridge that is being required by NCDOT on the I-95 widening project. And this is not going to be a reimbursable expenditure from DOT, so the town's going to have to pay to have them relocated. And it's a total of $39,375.
Why is it non-refundable? DOT would have written.
Yeah, I can answer that. So I actually met with Matt Clark today. We were talking about not only the widening project, we were also talking about the betterment project that was going on. So relocation of water sewer is part of that. That's why there's a portion of that's as well as the stormwater piece that we've got is there. But the DOT is a little bit like the railroad in a sense that if the power lines were there before the bridge, then it would be a reimbursable expense. But those power lines obviously were put in after the bridge was put in, and so that's a reimbursable expense. Well, not only do we have to pay to have these removed, and our guys we had to contract some of it out. When they finish the project with the bridge work they're going to do, we've got to put them back, and we're going to have to pay for that as well. So we had a long conversation on that piece today, but this is an expense for us. So
You can't get them to pay half of it?
I tried.
We'll take it down, or we'll put it back.
Yeah, I tried. But the good news piece is I've got good feedback. You know, the betterment project with the stormwater, which is really ground zero for all of our flooding issues that we've got in town here. That's a 66-inch pipe that they're going to do. We found that was one of those contracts that we found that I briefed everybody on earlier, that Dean brought up during our budget retreat that nobody was tracking. It was a contract that was let back in 2020, I think, that was signed and should have been putting away money for. And you know, I had a lot of concerns that I was going to have to come up with $500,000 in the next 2 months that we don't have. And the good news piece is that they will not bill us until after the I-95 widening project is complete. And we're looking at 2 to 3 years with that. So I gave instructions to Sharon today. We talked about which funds in the next 2 budget cycles, so the budget we're currently working on, as well as the next year's budget, where we're going to pull those monies, set those monies aside in our capital reserve, so that when those bills do come due, probably in the 29 fiscal year.
28, 29.
Yeah,
is what we're thinking.
then the monies will be available. It's not going to be a surprise to it. We planned for it accordingly. And we'll do the same thing, obviously, we'll pull monies out for the electric funds. And they're looking better to put the lines back across. It shouldn't be that expensive, so.
Thank you. So, who make a motion? Do we make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
All right. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Carries.
you.
Next is the resolution 2026, supporting the fire department by Maxine. Ms. Maxine, do you want to talk about that?
Miss Maxine.
Okay.
I really
What do y'all think?
thought, though, we just took care of
I did too, but I don't want to assume.
it. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
We can, Miss Maxine.
Okay. Listen, first I want to thank the board for my resolution. I thank the firemen for their cooperating with me. It was a personal thing with me, because I listened to one of the ladies. I know what it is to be single and alone and need the fire department. The first responders have been very better than generous. I think that is something that we owe to the town. I never could understand why you would come to town and make that your first agenda. I don't understand that. But all well said and done, I really want to thank the people of Benson for supporting, because at the end of the day, I don't work for that board. That is not who I work for. I don't work for Dane. I don't work for William. I don't work for Will Chandler. I don't work for Danny Mae Holland. I don't work for Cassandra Stack, Danny Mae, Max Rainer. I work for you all. That's who pays the salary for me. So I'm not obligated to anybody but the people of Benson. So I want to thank all of you tonight. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Anthony Bird, you better be on board. And I thank you.
Okay. Consider approving
And we
of
will
school
pull the
resource officer
resident sheet.
contract with Johnson County School.
I want to pull the resolution on the table, off the table, immediately, effective right now.
Do anything?
Thank you.
All right, good deal.
Thank you, Max.
You're welcome.
Yeah, she just pulled the
Oh, yeah, just pull it
resolution
off.
off because you took care of it.
Yeah.
You did?
Good job.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Ready?
Chief.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Board. Tonight, Ike and I are presenting an updated contract for the school resource officer positions at Benson Elementary and Benson Middle School for the 2026-2027 school year. The public school system presented us with a contract, and I sent it to Ike for his review. He's read over it, and I'll let him make any comments that he'd like to.
Yeah, there's an increase, right, Chief? What was that?
Yeah, there's a 5% increase from last year to the upcoming school year. It goes from $48,000 to $50,400.
Correct.
And I talked with the school board today, and they hope to make that a rolling increase every year. They're going to do a series of one-year contracts.
I've got a couple questions. You know I do, I'm a numbers guy.
Right.
So I went back for the salaries, and it looks like that 50,400 is covering somewhere around 50% of 50 to 75% of the cost of our SRO officers. And I just want to make sure, well, I know there's county facilities and we want to support the county. I guess my question is, would you looking at the 4 officer cuts that are right now, I know that would cut your budget by that $100,800, but would you be better off, would you prefer to have them in the schools, or would you prefer to pull them back to the streets? streets, and that's the best way. I just wanna make sure that the people of Benson are protected, and in the end, that's a county responsibility, because it's a county building. You know?
Right. What I would say to that is yes, they're primarily employed as school resource officers, but that's for like 9 months out of the year.
Right.
So for the other 3 months, we have them at our disposal, and in the event of staffing issues or weather or whatever, we can always pull them out of the school. Right now, I'm satisfied with them being there.
So I wanna make sure, thanks, Chief.
All right. So, need a motion, right?
Make a motion we approve.
There's a motion. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Okay, next.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Consider approval to reschedule the June 18th, 2026 meeting to June 23rd to accommodate budget approval timeline. Thank you.
Great, thanks. So we had a good discussion last Friday. The timeline, because the LGC puts a little bit of a wrinkle in obviously how we present these boards, or present these budgets. In order to do the proper functions that we've got to do for the budget, we want to move it, and we want to make sure we have a quorum here. So I queried the commissioners, and there was some conflicts, and so we highly recommend of moving the June 18th meeting to June 23rd, that will, based upon who folks I've talked with, we'll have a quorum for that meeting, because we got to get that budget approved. Make sure with the commissioners I haven't spoken with, that facilitates obviously you as well.
Moving 18 to 23.
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
No, that's Tuesday night, everybody. You know that, right? Tuesday.
Yeah.
No.
Just make sure people know it's not Thursday. Not for Tuesday, not for Thursday. Everybody good?
You need a motion for that?
We do.
I make a motion that you move the meeting to June, from June 18th to June the 23rd.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carries. So, town manager report.
Mayor, just a couple things real quick on the I-95 piece. So right now, we're obviously tracking that very carefully, and I just want to let you all know that we have a lot of concerns, as well as the businesses, especially that are on the other side of the I-95, as well as downtown. All the businesses are going to be impacted by this. And so we continue to have dialogue. We've now had another meeting with DOT on really getting after signage for the I-95, is where, how to get to not only business areas, but a lot of concerns with those businesses on the east side of I-95. They gave a pretty good presentation, great presentation to DOT. I know that there were elected officials there from both the state, and then we even had federal folks there on the impacts of this I-95 widening project and the businesses and the loss of revenue. And so we're doing everything we possibly can do to make awareness, signage, get that information out as changes. But I will tell you, a lot of the questions that were asked is can they make that closure any more quickly? And the answer is no. The bridge work is going to have a lot of curing time on it that just doesn't allow that to go more quickly than what they're currently doing, as well as, and I know it's not going to be popular, but obviously the roundabout on the other side as well is going to take a lot of work and curing and stuff. They've already pre-positioned. You'll see a lot of materials they pre-positioned. Flatiron was there, DOT was there, all the engineers were there, everybody's tracking it. And again, we met again this morning with Matt Clark on his concerns and where they are in that process, and they'll continue to keep us informed. I've spoken obviously with the fire and the police departments. Obviously, they have concerns. Reference response times. I think they've done everything they possibly can do to ensure that we have plans in place with other folks, other departments, in responding to any type of emergencies. And then we've even gone even further. Kayla's been working on that very closely with Vulcan, because they are somewhere in the neighborhood. They're having somewhere in the neighborhood of about 500 people a day, 24/7, starting this week, and that will only ramp up higher as they get after that project and the time that they need to get after it. And right now, they don't have concerns that they can't mitigate with construction and stuff. So while it's painful, I think once it's all done, we'll be glad it's done. It's just going to be ugly for a couple of months on it. And right now, they haven't finalized the date. We're still bouncing between the 28th and the 30th, and it's really trying to get in concert with Johnson County school closures. But just take a look at our Facebook as well as our website. Not only are you going to see the latest information, and we'll pass it and we'll post it, but we're also have asked them for cartoons, so maps that show different alternate routes to get around, based upon which direction you're coming from, for folks that don't live in Benson and don't know those areas, so folks come into the shop and stay in our town. So that's all I've got.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Because I get questions about it. So, many years ago, when we got updated by DOT, last I heard, they were keeping the bridge there, one roundabout on the east side, and they were keeping it kind of the same on the west side.
No roundabout on this
If you
side.
go to DOT's website,
Yeah.
it shows a new bridge and two roundabouts.
Yeah, so that was one of the questions they brought up. That, on the website, they've still got the old neighborhood meetings that are on there, and that was one of the concerns. Matter of fact, Kayla brought it up with them this morning, because the hotels pulled those documents to articulate their concerns. They're going to get new products on their website, or better label those products so that folks have an understanding what's happening.
So do you know if the bridge is staying or is it a new bridge?
Bridge is staying, yeah. There's a lot of, the way they explained to me is the deck has a lot of water issues, infiltration issues it's getting into, that they're going to have to mill up and replace the decking on that piece, plus there's a lot of iron work and stuff. It's a good time to do the bridge, obviously. If we're going to be closure, let's do it now. And then, of course, the roundabout piece. And then there's still, the vote is still out on what lights, traffic lights, are going to be either removed or kept. We did complain to them that none of them are, the timing is horrible on them right now, and so they're going to address that as well. So.
That all? Is that everything done?
That's it. Yes, sir.
All right.
I don't have it.
Commissioners, Danny.
Good.
Good. I have a question and it's a concern. I'm going to direct this to the town manager as well as our town attorney. Is there a reason that our town manager cannot answer this question?
Can you use your mic? They can't hear that.
I am directing my question to the town manager and our town attorney. I want to know, is there a reason why the citizens' question could not be answered regarding derogatory remarks about leadership in this town?
You asking me or him first?
Well, him for one, and if you need to interject for legality reasons, then you too.
Well, for my part, public comment, and I've said this to the board as long as I've been representing it, is for the citizens to speak to you, and really not so much for you to discourse with them. You are well advised to let the public utilize their time to comment. And if you choose to engage with them, then that's certainly your prerogative. So if somebody asks a question that is inflammatory or creates concern or would discuss something potentially about an individual employee or somebody on the board or an organization, you might be getting into some kind of personnel issue or a complaint that might become one. So I would say err on the side of caution to not engage in that kind of discourse. So that would be my perspective on why. I get that everybody wants an answer. I understand where.
And that's why I'm asking the question, because it's a simple yes or no, but hey, if it's a legality reasons and you're afraid we're going to be sued, then, okay.
Well, I'm always afraid of that.
Okay. And you may be sued anyway, so okay.
Well, I'm good. What I would not want is there to be a public record and a public comment about somebody in somebody's somebody who has potentially done wrongdoing that needs to be investigated, and that becomes a part of our personnel file.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Ms. Maxine,
Yes, sir.
you got anything?
No, I'm fine
All right.
for right now. I'll have some things at a later date, but right now, I'm fine.
Hope you get better.
Yeah, I got it. Did you get it?
What'd she say?
I'm good.
I just want to say I appreciate everybody coming tonight. I appreciate everybody doing this like we should do this. Where it's pretty much reasonable and no real hassles. We ain't fighting in the middle of the room and nothing like that. So I appreciate everybody coming and being so good. I hope we can leave here united. I hope we can put any differences we have aside and just go on and be the people we are. Thanks again. Usually it's like watching paint dry to come watch these things. It made me think about when all you guys were here. There was a guy that came and brought his son to show how town worked. He left after about 20 minutes. It was not fun. Anyway, so that's it. Now, do I hear a motion to go in closed session? All right. You have to read that stuff? All right, we need to read it. So, got a motion to go into closed session. All in favor? Aye. Closed